fear is a tool. But when that light hits the sky, it's not just a call. It's a warning. Justice. The answer's justice.
Come on, vengeance. Let's get into some trouble.
Hi, nice to meet you. Hello, beautiful people.
Nice to meet you.
Hi,
How are
nice to
you?
meet you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good as well. Nice to meet you as well. Welcome. I'm Hanum from Vocket, Malaysia.
Hey there.
Hey,
Good, how are you?
how are you?
I'm great.
Where are you?
I'm in Malaysia at the moment.
It's not cold
Yeah.
here. It was kind of like a strange Indian summer at the weekend, and then it got grey yesterday. It was like Ireland. It was like home yesterday. It was kind of cool. But grey here and cold here is 60 degrees.
So I'm just gonna jump right in if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
All right. So of course we've known you from your previous work, Future Shock, Let Me In, Dawn of the Planet Apes, and a lot of people have said that you're also a fan of Batman as well. So I was just wondering, what was your first reaction when you just found out that you were gonna direct for this movie?
Fear. A lot of terror. I think because the thing about it is that when they approached me, it's interesting. I was finishing. I was in the middle of post on one of the Planet of the Apes movies, on War for the Planet of the Apes. And those movies are very intense in post because you're working with the mocap performers and then the animators to make sure that translates. And so you're kind of making the movie again in post. So when they called me, I kept turning it down because I thought it was just a general meeting. And I thought, well, I'll do that after I'm done with the Apes movie. And then one day my agent called me and he said, that meeting is not actually a general. It's about Batman. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I've loved Batman since I was a child. And so I thought, well, of all of the franchises that I could be approached about, this is one that I have a deep love for and a deep respect for. So I took the meeting and they responded to what I had to say about what I wanted to do. And then of course I was terrified because I thought, well, now I've got to do that. And one of the things about this character is he's endured for over 80 years. People have a version of Batman in their head that is their own. People are walking down the street in their Batman t-shirts and wearing their Batman baseball caps, and he's theirs, right? He's not just mine if I'm making this film, but I get to be a custodian. So I knew that I needed to find a way to make it personal to me and to also find a way to make it distinctive, to find a way to do something that felt fresh and new. There had been so many great movies and I knew we couldn't do something that felt like one of the others while still fulfilling everything that people want from a Batman film. So all of that sounds like a high wire act, and it is. And so that was my reaction, was terror. But to me, it's been the mission, which was to deliver a movie that felt fresh and gave you the Batman that you love, but in a way you'd never seen before.
That's true. And it all turned out for the better.
Oh, thank you.
So you're also the script writer for this movie. Have you ever experienced any writer blocks while you were writing for it?
I didn't experience writer's block, but the way that I consider writing, I always think, I consider the creative process as like, you have a blank page, right? So being in a blank page for me is like being in a dark room, the lights are out, you're in total darkness, you're on hands and knees, and you're just crawling about until you grab onto something that seems to make sense to you. And you kind of start gathering these things until the picture starts to form. And so I would say that this story came together quite quickly, but the plotting was so meticulous because of how complex the story was meant to be. That took forever. So it wasn't so much writer's block as it was just the challenge of plotting something that was so complex. So I had worked out the story, and at a certain point I started working with Peter because I was like, what, I started on my own, and then as I got deep into the story, I thought, wow, I know how to work, that I want to get from A to Z, but the detail of how to take all of the elements of this mystery, this complex conspiracy, and weave it together, it was challenging. And so it wasn't so much writer's block as it was just the difficulty of this particular story, which was super complex.
All right, so before we start, can I just say that I'm a huge fan of both of you, like Rob, obviously from Harry Potter, Twilight, and Devil of All Time, and Zoe from Fantastic Beasts and Divergent series. Like, I love those two movies so much. So your previous works aside, I'd just like to know, in the shortest way possible, can you describe about the new upcoming film, Batman?
Describe the film.
It is. It's kind of Batman going back to his detective noir roots, kind of, and it's similar if you're familiar with the comics. It's kind of like the Long Halloween or Dark Victory, when it's kind of this. It's a complex tragedy mixed with. This is such a bad way of describing it.
No, but
it's a bit romantic.
Oh my goodness.
I thought I was going to do it well, and it did not come out.
It started very good. No, but I think the key is kind of going back to Batman's detective roots, which is really interesting. And Matt really wanted to make a noir film, and I think that's really something we haven't quite seen before. And it's very grounded as well. It's a different version of Gotham and Batman and Catwoman than we've seen before. It feels very real.
Well, a beautiful way of describing it, both of you. Don't worry, Robert, you did a great job. Well, just, question out of curiosity, on a scale from 1 to 10, how difficult was it for you to don your whole outfit on for both of you?
10.
Yeah, you can't really get out of it by yourself.
No, you need help.
Yeah, you need.
To go to the bathroom, you have to have someone come with you, like a little baby.
Occasionally I would go off. Sometimes I would kind of, at the end of the day, I would try and get off myself. And then you just you'd be trying, and if no one came to help, you'd just be sitting there, stuck in a straitjacket and have to be waiting.
Oh no! So of course it's going to be very difficult putting it on and taking it off. As like outfits aside, what about the location or the scenes? Are there any difficult moments or places for you to shoot?
We shot most of it at Leavesden Studios. They built out the back lot and built Gotham and on a lot of stages. I mean, it's very cold and oftentimes raining in the scene, so that was difficult. Especially we're wearing I was wearing leather. When that gets wet, it's really uncomfortable. So that was kind of difficult.
But it was funny because I was shooting in my hometown in London, and it really didn't feel like you were shooting in London at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spent probably 9 months under a rain machine, which was kind of not the greatest.
Awesome.
You can't hear anything.
No,
that's the only problem.
It's not awesome.
Like we're doing scenes where you kind of have absolutely no idea when the other actor's
I just don't know why
speaking.
those rooms can't be heated. I don't know why it's so cold. Why? Why?
Who knows?
I just don't. Is that I've talked to Warner Brothers about that.
Well, I hope you guys are all warm and comfortable at the moment.
We are. It's great.
So before we start, I just want to say that you guys did an impeccable job at, playing your characters. I really cringed the whole entire time for, of course, Paul's character, you played as the villain, and it's not an easy job. So I was just wondering, in your perspective, were there any difficulties that you faced during playing your character, when playing your character?
Yeah. It's a funny contradiction because I was so excited to step into this world, the Batman, Gotham, the incredible collaborators around me, and I did love my character, but also, his life was a troubled one, right? Sometimes excavating that for yourself is also kind of intense. And for example, some of the things Matt Reevess kind of told me as reference points for himself, looking into that, researching that stuff. I remember I had to start going to coffee shops during the day to read about the serial killers, because it just was not what you want on your bedside table. Next to your bed. It's sad, it's disturbing, and luckily the film was incredibly fun to make because I think we all believed in what we were making.
That's true. Well, what about you, Jeffrey? You are, of course, Batman's beloved ally. So in the shortest way possible, can you describe your character?
Jim Gordon, Lieutenant, Gotham City Police Department, doing the best he can in hard times, and often overwhelmed, which is why he seeks out this partnership with the Batman. And I think in our film we see a partnership between the two of them that we haven't explored to the depths that we explore in our film. So I think it's something quite new, quite
That's
refreshing.
Yeah, and in his own way, it's very heroic as well.
Well, he's an everyman, Gordon. He's a simple man trying to do a complex job. He does have he's got a kind of simple heroism about him, and that's in the comics as well, particularly the later stuff. So but at the same time, I just tried to play it very simply, just as a man trying to do a job in challenging times.
So John, we're gonna start with you first. You were born in 1957, so you've seen several versions of Batman so far. But but for you,
You should be lying down, John. You should be doing all this lying down.
Oh my God!
Surely it's nap
I'm
time.
150 years old. I'm one of those actors. I'm on the board.
don't disclose that out loud. But who's your favorite Batman so far?
My favorite Batman?
Yeah.
I'm not at liberty. I think, there's been a lot of wonderful Batmans. And they're all different kinds of Batmans, from the comic book, from Adam West, to Michael Keaton and Christian Bale. And I think what Rob does as Batman is very unique because you've never seen him at this particular age sort of forming and figuring out his values. Is vengeance going to be something that's going to override all his values or not? And then you're watching a person sort of emerge, not change but grow. And I think the other characters, the Penguin and Catwoman too, I think are in that kind of situation in their lives. So I think everyone. Each thing works for the film or the story, when it's well executed, obviously, and it's been done very well before. But this is very different, I think, in some ways, and it's very film noirish, and really it kind of embodies the whole DC detective comic milieu in a way.
Well, that's true. So the next question goes to both of you. So where do you think your characters would be in the future? As in 10 years or 20 years from now? What would they be doing?
Well, John's would be... I can't say, it's a spoiler alert. I don't know what mine has, I don't know where he goes. I don't know where Oz goes. I don't know if he fully inhabits the kind of mythology that lives around him as the Penguin, or where he goes, if there was a second or third script or 10 years, but he has the kind of violence of ambition coursing through his veins. He's very much a soldier for John's character, and like many soldiers in the criminal underworld, he's not happy with that station. That's not a point of arrival, it's a point of departure for him. He dreams of being at the top, so he's certainly going to do everything he can in his power and in the ugliness of his black heart to get to the top and crush anyone in his way, I would imagine,
It's true.
Listen,
What about you, John? What about your character?
Nobody gets out alive. That's all I can say from life, No, none of us gets out alive. So eventually we all have to face, the music in some way. So, he's been there a long time. So he's been, yeah. I don't think anyone knows what, you kind of take what you can, and the opportunities that come. But he's someone who's survived and been in control for a long time, without sort of appearing.
Revealing himself.
Sort of like the Wizard of Oz, he is the wizard, yeah. He's the man behind the curtain.